Shalom everyone, welcome back. This week we will discuss Parshat Vayechi, the final Parsha in the book of Bereshis. So Yaakov has a good life. His final 17 years, Yosef, so to speak, repays him. He took care of Yosef for 17 years. Yosef takes care of him for 17 years. There's a little bit of rumbling going on in Egypt because the Egyptians have lost all their wealth to Yosef. And Yaakov's family retains their wealth because they have preferential treatment from Yosef. But things are okay for the Jews at this point. Yaakov becomes ill. He's the first person recorded in Tanakh to become ill. Our sages say Yaakov wanted this, that people should have a warning sign that maybe life is soon coming to a close. And he summons Yosef, and he tells Yosef, look, I'm not far from passing from this world. What I want is that you promise me, take a vow, that you will bury me back in Parsha Machpelah and in Israel. And I know you might be wondering why I didn't do that for your mother, Rachel, but you should know that she died a difficult death during childbirth, and there were secret reasons why it would ultimately benefit the Jewish people that she was buried there. So I had to. Yosef takes the vow, and Yaakov Avinu becomes ill, and Yosef comes with his two children, Ephraim and Menashe. And when Yaakov blesses them, so he tells them the Jewish people will ultimately bless their children, Yesimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim v'Menashe. May God make you like Ephraim and Menashe, which we in fact do. Many houses do this every Friday night. The parents bless their children this way. It's interesting that Ephraim and Menashe grew up in Egypt. They grew up in exile. They grew up, so to speak, without a Jewish family. But their mother, Asnat, was amazing. She brought them up so that they were on the level of the other tribes. Yaakov blesses Yosef. He says Ephraim and Menashe will be counted like two tribes among the Jewish people. So Ephraim and Menashe were worthy of that. And this was the education that their mother, Asnat, was able to give them out in Egypt. Yaakov summons his children as he realizes his end is near. And he gives each child the blessing that is fitting them. He helps them see their weaknesses. If it's Reuven, who rushed to action and ultimately lost many things in life over that. If it's Shimon and Levi, who thought they were so faithful to their nepotism, to their sister Dinah, yet when it came to Yosef, they were the ones who initiated his sale. If it's Yehuda, who has the strength to ultimately be the king of Judea. One by one, Yaakov Avinu enumerates their strengths and weaknesses and gives them their final blessing. And then Yaakov passes from the world, and they have 7 days of mourning. This is one of the sources for 7 days of mourning. And Yosef wants to take him up to bury him in Israel. And Pharaoh says, you can't do that. You're not leaving. And this is the first time the Jews start to realize that they are not only guests in Egypt, but Pharaoh is going to control if and when they leave. And so Yosef says, I promised my father. And Pharaoh says, who says you have to keep a promise? And Yosef reminds Pharaoh that he had also promised him that he would never reveal that he knows more languages and has skills that can be tested more than Pharaoh. And Pharaoh had made him promise that he would never reveal the languages that he knew that Pharaoh didn't. And so he says, you want me to keep promises. And Pharaoh remembers and he understands the hint and he says, yes, you better keep your promises. Go bury your father in Israel the way you promised. And when the Jews go to bury Yaakov in Israel, so they are forced to leave their children and their cattle in Egypt. And this is where the Jews start sensing the Egyptians are closing their grip on us. The beginning of the servitude is in our Parsha with Yaakov's passing. On their way back from burying Yaakov in Parsha Machpelah, the brothers sense that maybe Yosef is now going to take revenge from them. And so they make up a story. They say, your father asked that we tell you that you should please forgive us for what we've done. We're all prepared to be your servants. And Yosef starts crying and he says, I don't view life this way. He recognizes they lied to him and he says, God did this. This was all to save all of us. I'm here to serve you. This is why God had this happen. And so, although the relationship between Yosef and his brothers shifts with Yaakov's passing, Yosef remains faithful to them and takes good care of them. At the end of our Parsha, Yosef tells the Jewish people, Pakod Yifkod. He tells them the code. The time will come when Hashem will redeem you from Egypt. And the true Redeemer will use words that come with the letter Pei, a double term, Pakod Yifkod. And the Jewish people are going to enter the next book of Shmos with that anticipation. When is the great Redeemer going to come? Have a good Shabbos.